Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K. Thanks so much for joining me, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a tutorial. I'm actually working on a journal, and this journal that I'm working on, I am using Lady Eleanor's journal kit from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and I will definitely link all of that information below in the description box so you guys can find it. It's a very beautiful kit. It's definitely a kit that if you like to journal in your journals, there's lots of lined paper in this kit that you can use to journal on. But anyways, one of the things that I came across is that I really love the design of the pages, and I still wanted to add maybe some more tuck spots to it, but without really cutting up the paper, the digital paper, and piecing it together in a different way. And so what I decided to do, and this is nothing new, I've done this before on cards and in mini albums, so it's not a new technique, but it's kind of creating like a hidden tuck spot. So here is one of the digital pages, and this is how it prints out. It does have another half to it. But if you look here, I've already added two kind of hidden tuck spots. So here's just a piece of ephemera from some sort of scrapbooking kit that I had. And I can tuck that in there. And then here's another little piece of ephemera, again, from some scrapbooking kit that I have. I think it actually comes from Seven Gypsies. But, and then I can tuck something in here also. And I still maintained kind of the main image of the digital kit, which I love, but now I've added these two little pieces of ephemera that I can take out and journal on the back sides of. And so, so that's basically what I'm showing you guys, is kind of these hidden tuck spots today. So if you want to watch how I do that, just kind of stick with me here. And so I haven't gotten very far yet on this journal. I'm just creating tuck spots right now on some of the different pages. And so what you will of course need is a journal page. And so this one, when it does print off, I think here's the other half of that page right here. So it would print off like this, and what I did is I went ahead and I cut it in half. So now I have just this half sheet. I have a coffee dyed, or this one's actually walnut stained paper. And this is a little bit heavier paper. It's just some paper that I got at the thrift store really cheap. It's probably like mixed media type paper. It's not quite as heavy as cardstock, but it's pretty close. And then this I printed on presentation paper, if you're wondering on what, so this is a little bit lighter weight. And so that's what you'll need. You will also need an exacto knife. If you like to use rulers or straight edges for your cutting with your exacto knife, it just needs to have like a metal edge on it. You will also need like a cutting mat to protect your desk. A bone folder, that's kind of optional. Some sort of glue or adhesive that you like. I'm just going to be using tacky glue today. And then the other thing, again, this is optional, but I find that this helps with the integrity a little bit, is just to have some Scotch tape. You could also use washi tape, that works too. Or even scrap piece of paper would work too, that you could glue down. And so those are kind of the basics. So now here is my piece of paper that I want to cut some tuck spots into. And I'm just going to grab a pencil too, which that can be optional. It's not required to do this, but it will help. And so what I want to do with this one is, I think there's some different possibilities. I could cut like a straight line across right here and create a little tuck spot. I could also do it above this little envelope in the thing. You could also kind of make a tuck spot by cutting along here and down here, and then also you could do one here. And so this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a line along here, I think, and then also up here, so I can tuck maybe a smaller thing in up there. And so again, I'm just going to cut, and if you like to use your ruler, if you but you don't have to. I'm just going to cut a straight line. And most of the time, I just eyeball it, but if you like to use the ruler, go ahead and use it. And so again, I'm just going to be cutting right here. Again, when you're using the exacto knife, you want a nice sharp blade, and again, you also want a cutting mat underneath it. And so I just cut a line right there. Oops, I forgot to tell you guys something before you do that. Okay guys, I did screw up just a little bit. Not bad, it isn't anything big deal, but what I do like to do before I start cutting is I do hold this up to a light source so I can see through it. And what I'd like to do is just kind of trace my lines on the back, and I already kind of did that just lightly. And here's where I already cut, but I did have a line here. And I also had a line right here, and I just kind of free-handed it. Just I held it up to the light source and drew it like this, but it's kind of hard to show you how to do that. And then I also did one here. And the only reason why I do that is before I cut, I actually like to put a piece of Scotch tape down right where I'm going to cut on all of my different lines, and they can overlap, so don't worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and put this Scotch tape back over where I already cut, and I'll just recut it again. And then I have a line up here too that I'm going to put some Scotch tape on. And the only reason why I'm doing the Scotch tape is that it adds just a little bit of extra integrity to it, and it helps it so that when I tuck stuff into these tuck spots, that it's not going to rip as easy. You don't have to do that, but I just find that it helps. So I'm going to go back again and recut this since I put that tape down behind it. Again, it wasn't a big mistake, but just something I forgot to do while I was on camera. So I went ahead and recut that line that I already did. And again, I could stop here if I just wanted to use that as my little tuck spot, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger of a tuck spot. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right here next. Again, if you want to use a ruler, go ahead. I usually just eyeball it. And so now, sometimes you'll have to go in and just redo in a couple little spots just because you didn't cut all the way through. But now I have myself a nice little tuck spot in this paper. And then I'm going to also go ahead and cut that one up here. I decided to kind of cut along this little Paris envelope, but you could also easily cut along down here too. So I'm going to cut right there. So now I've just created myself another little tuck spot. And so then the next step is going to be gluing this down onto your paper. And so I'm going to glue it onto this front side. And if you have to trim it down a little bit to make it fit, this one actually fits okay. And so I am going to glue it down. I've already done this one as a tuck spot, so if you, this one I just did one spot as a tuck spot right there on that side. So here's the one that we're going to be gluing down. But now one of the things to think about now, and sometimes I'll just grab some sort of piece of ephemera, whether it's what I plan on using or not. I will go ahead and just stick it kind of where I want it to go before I glue it down like that. And I'm going to just stick this one up here. And then I'm going to flip it over and kind of look at it. That kind of gives me an idea where to put my glue and where not to put my glue. Whatever I stick in here is going to have to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to put that one up a little bit. So wherever you see your little piece of ephemera, you do not want to put glue. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just kind of trace around that little piece of ephemera that I just put in very lightly with a pencil. And then I'll write the word like no glue, so I don't accidentally put glue there. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm just going to trace around, because I'll make something to fit in this little pocket here. So I'm just going to kind of trace around that And again, I'm just going to write the word no glue so I don't put glue on it. And so then I'm going to take my glue, and again, I'm just using tacky glue, but use whatever you guys like. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue around my edges and my top so that I can adhere it to the stained paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and add glue fairly close to my cut lines, but not exactly on my cut lines. I'll hold this up after I'm done putting some glue down so you guys can kind of see. See what I did, because again, I want to make sure that when I glue this down, I'm going to be able to tuck my little piece of ephemera back in there. So hopefully the glue is kind of showing up. But again, I wrote the word no glue so that I wouldn't add glue. And so now I'm just going to flip it back over and glue this down. Now I don't worry 100% if you can see a little bit of the stained paper underneath here or on the edges, because I will just go ahead and I'll just go through and I'll just ink my edges with some ink. And at this point, my next step would probably be to corner round like I did over here. And then if you happen to have like any overhang, like down here, you can see I have a little bit of paper overhanging, and what I will do is I'll go ahead and go to my paper cutter and just trim that little piece off. But if it doesn't bother you, you don't need to do that. And then again, just make sure you spread it out and all your glue's flat. If you like to use a bone folder to spread your glue, go ahead and do that. And then at this point, I also just double check to make sure when you lift up your flaps that you don't have any glue underneath them. This one you can kind of stick your fingers in a little bit and just make sure you didn't accidentally glue it shut when you added glue. So now at this point, you could go ahead and add your ephemera in. And like I said, I just created myself a couple little tuck spots there. And I left the integrity of the page so that I could see the design of the page. So that's kind of my little tuck spot. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day.